Rachel.
Hi, Ryan.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
You know me. I'm just. It's hard for me because I'm here to talk to you, my family, but we're not blood relation. You see, we're part of the Marine Corps. That's how we're family.
Not that we're married.
Well, we're married to the war, Rachel, and that's what matters. I'm joking,
God.
Rachel. I'm joking.
dear
I'm
God.
joking. I'm dead. I was a monk in this episode, and you're the
Fucking-
wife back home waiting to hear about my dog tags. About my dog tags.
Fucking
Tell my wife I love her.
just don't fucking stop, dude. Just don't fucking stop.
All right.
It's relentless.
Let's get with it, Rachel. Let's
no
settle in and
There's no
talk
end to this
about
war.
space above and beyond yet again. We are here to talk to you people out there and to each other about individual episodes of the 1995/96 series Space Above and Beyond. I am Ryan, and you over there, Rachel, are Rachel. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Did you know that they call tanks nipple necks? How do you feel about that?
No.
Straight up, how do you feel? Pro?
It's ridiculous.
You don't like nipple necks.
I don't mind it, but it's ridiculous.
Why?
Like,
Bigotry's ridiculous.
bigotry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the moral of this episode. Bigotry is ridiculous. That's a part of the moral.
Yeah.
But you think it's just that kind of sci-fi ridiculousness where we have a term,
Yeah.
nipple necks.
Yeah.
Do
Like, it makes sense.
Mm.
People love alliteration.
Yes, even though
Don't begrudge them that.
it's a belly button, right?
Yeah.
Not a nipple. I prefer tanks as the slur used against these people, but that is just myself speaking. You sound like you like the ridiculousness of the alliteration of nipple necks.
No. By comparison, tank seems normal.
Okay, fair enough. So, we're YumYumPodcast because of an amazing line of dialogue from Star Trek Discovery where a character, that's a term that I shouldn't bandy about, an individual said the line, yum yum, out of nowhere. It felt really out of place, and yet it was there. And we're 4 episodes into Space Above and Beyond now. I've seen the show before, you have not. So we're not spoiling anything in the future of the series, even though this is a 1-season show that got cancelled. I do want to say we're 4 episodes in, and I feel like every episode could have had a random character say yum yum, and it would fit the show. Because of the level of campy, corny throwback that's here. Feels as if say one of the bridge staff in this episode said yum yum, I wouldn't really raise my eyebrow at it all that much because of the other absurd elements that were thrown at us here seemed all of a piece to me. What about you? What do you think? We're 4 episodes in.
No, yeah. I agree.
No, yes. Yes,
yeah.
Nah, yeah. Oh, well, I get you now. So, Rachel, we're here to talk about episode 4, Mutiny. Do you remember what you guessed this would be about?
I seem to recall guessing that it wasn't going to be our crew that mutinied. And it wasn't going to be like the Saratoga.
You also did think that they were going to mutiny against McQueen.
Yes.
Which people do. I mean, not mutiny against, but Hawks definitely does defy McQueen and argues with him.
Yeah. And he's like sort of in command unofficially.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the second on the bridge, like the captain has some line
Oh, McQueen?
about the Queen being like, we can do with 2 people.
And he's a Marine, so he would be good in a combat situation. Oh, should that ever arise on our trip through Blood Alley. Was it Bloody Alley?
Bloody Alley, yeah.
Bloody Alley. So, Mutiny, according to the DVD description, is as such. Cooper and McQueen, both in vitros, face a difficult decision when the captain of a space cargo hauler decides to sacrifice his in vitro cargo in order to save his ship after it comes under attack. That's a really apt description of the episode.
There's only one way to take the load off the second generator. Cut power to one section of the cargo hull.
You mean kill people?
It's math, Colonel. One section dies or we all die. Is there really a choice? Section 46 gives us the most power for the fewest lives.
Hit us. What did you think of this?
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I don't think it was as good as the last one, but markedly better than the first 2. I am happy with where West is in the middle distance.
He owned up to his ego and mistakes.
But I like him there. I don't want him to come back forward.
Oh,
But
he's growing already.
Yeah, but I don't. I just want him to keep on going in the background and check in. I dread the next West episode because I just don't trust them to do it well.
Oh, so you're not at that level of trust yet, but you would say that they're getting better with character work.
Yes, because I think they know what they want to do with these other characters more. Like, Wang is clearer as a character. And I care more about him possibly being catfished in this episode than Nathan losing his necklace.
Well, he didn't lose it. It was taken. But to go back, what about it did you enjoy?
I like the overall idea of them going through like these treacherous waters in space. And the fact that, like, you can't just fly fucking anywhere and it's fine. But there's these routes that are more dangerous than others, but it has its benefits.
Yeah, we set up at the beginning of the episode that the Chigs, even though we don't even see them fully attacking, do have a lot of dominance in the area that they are in. So they have to take specific routes to get back to the Saratoga. Which, I mean, I didn't even think about it because I just took it at face value because the opening of the episode just puts you right into the action. You don't even though it gives you writing, lots of writing on the screen in this episode informing us where we are and what time it is. Even with that, I really felt thrown into the middle of the action where I didn't know where we were and what we were doing, but then they quickly catch us up to speed of where we have to go now.
We are thrown into the action in this episode.
So you were saying you liked the setup of this, the scenario being pitched here.
We've got our Marines and they're trying to get back to their base ship. They're on an unusual craft.
Yeah.
Because they're getting a lift on a civilian ship.
Yeah.
So it puts a nice contrast between our crews. And it does feel different when a civilian crew mutinies over
another.
What I meant to say was it feels different when a civilian crew mutinies than compared to a military crew.
Yeah, at least with these guys, I can't remember if they were exactly civilian, but they definitely weren't Marines.
No, they weren't a part of the Corps.
Yeah, and I really thought a great thing that they did here was have all of our characters, including McQueen, be second fiddle to this other crew, and to sit back.
Their ship.
They're on their ship. They're not in charge, not calling the shots, not making all the tactical plays and things of that nature until shit hits the fan. And even then, McQueen takes over the ship, but not in a way where it dominates the entire episode. It is a very minor part of the many moving pieces here. I thought this was an okay episode. If I got to be honest, I disliked this one more than the first episode in terms of the season, not the pilot. My thing here with this is, we've heard this already, the frustration of Space Above and Beyond episodes are, you can see why they thought this would work, but it needed another draft or two. And this script is too blatant with its themes and messages.
Clunky.
Where I understood it, you explained it really well, but then they have to put that extra dollop on, and then another dollop. And then the thing that really took me out of it was outside of the scripting problems. Again, I think this episode has what you're talking about, a great structure to it, a great setup, wonderful character work, but it is just needing that extra revision to tighten it up and to take away too much of the clunky stuff. But what really took me out...
There's a few too many scenes where it's just like, and
repeat the beat.
Here is the information.
Mm-hmm. And here's the theme.
I wonder where this is going kind of response elicited.
Oh, and too much of this is the message of the episode. This is the theme. This is the metaphor. This is the allegory. I really was taken out, though, because unlike the pilot or the first episode or the previous one, I thought the direction in this was garbage. It just was really off-putting to me. There was many choices made in terms of editing and blocking specifically that really rubbed me raw because these are good actors. We've seen these actors already. And even the guest stars, you look up their IMDb's and they've done great work, most of them. And there was just awkward blocking and acting where, say, it cuts to a guy and it feels as if it is a frame or two too early of where you would cut to. So too many times do I see the actor getting in position to then say the lines of dialogue. Instead of it should already cut and he's already in the position, ready to, already saying the things. There was these weird little spots where an editor and a director would just cut this and make that actor's physical stance and blocking less obvious. It felt very stagey to me in comparison. And what it really made me think of, and this is where you could say the show is achieving what it wants to, because one of the major inspirations this show has is, I do believe it is called Combat. I may have the title wrong, but it's this war show from back in the day, and this really felt a piece to how television shows used to be in the early 60s, where it was very stiff and actors would stand there with their hands on their hips and the camera would be placed just solidly there looking at them, and there's just not a lot happening. And great actors like the guy who plays McQueen, they had too many moments of him just kind of standing stern and stiff there, and he's doing his voice, and it was very false to me. And it came down to direction, because we've seen in the previous few, even the pilot episode, we praised how visually it played with the story much more than the script did. Here, I have no compliments when it comes to visual presentation and how the story was laid out to us through the direction and visuals. It was hampered by it. This is the only time this director directs in Space Above and Beyond. He has a career in TV from lots of things from Boston Legal to Desperate Housewives to on and on it goes. So it's not as if he is an inexperienced one, but he just didn't do work here that I thought was very good.
Yeah, I think that's a fair criticism. I didn't particularly take note of those things, but looking back, I'm like, oh, yeah, like, it didn't do any favors. I didn't find it distractingly bad. Like, the impression that I'm getting from you, I was like, yeah, this is a kind of shitty, cheap-looking TV show.
When movies first started to happen, and when TV first started to happen,
yeah,
there was a way of making them where the directors and the filmmakers would frame the actor in the shot to, in a way, be a living portrait.
Yeah.
And forgot the fact that there's movement there. And that's how I felt with this, where if you took a still image of what the scenes are, they look fine. But to actually see a person
to watch it
embodying this
unfold.
portrait and talking and acting, there's just restrictions there. There's just constraints there. And that's how I felt, where this script, another revision. Just go over it once more, get rid of some of these things, and then you have the director coming in.
Just once?
I don't think the script is that terrible. I think it's just,
no, but
hey, Glenn and James Wong, just take out that line, get this line, embrace the silence that you guys have had in the previous episode.
Okay. For me, it's not that I disagree with the idea that it needs just a one pass over. I think it needs a fresh set of eyes as well as a revision, because it just feels like, because the problems that are within this script are consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they could see the forest for the trees with this script.
They need an experienced script supervisor to punch it up a bit. Because
one that it isn't their baby.
Yeah, maybe that's what's happening here, because these are experienced TV writers. These were, at that time, the best X-Files writers. These people have worked on other projects. But we see this with many TV shows. They take their time to find their footing when it comes to the series itself. Yeah, and so you have clunky writing.
Expected.
And you can see here, this is, again, what I mean is this frustration of Space Above and Beyond episodes, because, again, this only got to be one season.
It could have been.
This only got to be one season, so you can see it improving upon itself, but it doesn't always get the chance to really improve it at the way that you want it to. Like, later episodes are going to be fantastic. We've already had a pretty excellent episode thus far, but you get episodes like this where you go, oh, well, that's just a season 1 problem, where the writers are still figuring out how to write in the universe of this show, and not just in terms of world building and lore, but just how characters interact, how dialogue should roll off the tongue. And we saw this in Babylon 5 with, say, Infection.
I really like the... Sorry to step on you. So, but then there's moments that do feel like they have that, where it rolls on really nicely. Like, whenever we went back to, like, the gunner room, I was like, yes, I'm here for this.
With Wang and Vanson.
Yeah, and I really liked the setup for that sort of subplot that was going on. I really enjoyed that stuff.
It was nice. That's what I liked about it. It was sweet.
There was just a really human moment of connection.
And the direction failed in the key moment where the script won and the actual visual presentation failed. When Wang put his hand on Vanson's hand, the way that they're like bundled up in the rigs, it was too stiff and awkward, and it was such a wide shot that it just looked like
it was like, what are you trying to do with this?
It made what is supposed to be a sweet moment of connection when you read it, and if we talk about it, you go, oh, that's a nice little moment. But when it's there, it looks creepy and false and fake because it is just him slowly reaching out his hand and putting it on hers, and the way that the camera is just sitting there far away and they're bundled up in these gunnery things, and it looked bad, but the thought of it, again, script-wise there, that was a moment where what you're talking about is the writers do have moments of brilliance here. They do have moments of getting it and having the dialogue and the dynamics roll out so beautifully. But again, then you have other things undercutting that, where you have... What I think I'm realizing is, I think Space Above and Beyond is not the greatest thus far at writing characters that aren't our main characters.
Yeah.
We saw that in the pilot.
Yeah.
We've seen that in the first episode. They're either not good at it or they're not interested. Remember French Stewart in the first episode? No. And we were like, the man farthest from home. And we thought, why isn't he an actual character? Because they weren't interested in that.
Yep.
And that's how I feel about Mutiny. That's where it falls apart, which is we get on a ship, we meet a whole bunch of characters. All of them are easily defined, where you go, that's the racist guy. That's the guy. Captain who's actually quite understanding, but he has a tough decision to make. You have, that's the engineer, and that's, the quirky one, and on it goes. But I didn't care about any of them.
There's another, I would say, problem or difficulty I had with caring about this episode, which is the huge difference in numbers. So it's like meant to be this dilemma of like killing the in vitros, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just what the hell is the problem?
I'm the problem, Captain.
There's not a lot of room for interpretation in your orders.
I won't do it, Captain. Too many of us have died fighting your wars.
You're putting every life on this ship at risk.
Then we die equal.
Like, they don't have an alternative that's viable.
Yes.
So it's just like, if that wasn't in vitros and it was like a half-packed thing of humans, they would do the same thing. They would do it with more consideration and active pursuing of alternatives.
Yes.
But it would probably still end up the same way. So it's just like, well, yeah, it's your option. If it was like more evenly stacked in terms of like it's 100 in vitros or 100 humans, then I would be like more inclined to be like, oh, well, maybe you have a point.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a choice between two sections of humans and in vitros and they pick the in vitros, I would be like, oh, no, like that is upfront and openly just about bigotry and devaluing their lives. But because there's that numerical difference, I find it a lot harder, and the fact that they don't present any alternatives. So it's just like, well, what's in all of these things? Like, can you, like, you said that you got some prime rib on board. Is that in a whole cargo thing that you could shut off?
Well, they did eject some cargo things. I think the difference is the cryogenic freezing is what's taking up power, and in fact, the in vitro's tanks are taking up more power
because they're being grown.
Because they're being grown. So,
and I'm like, yeah, I get all of that.
And they're being fostered. He is, what you're talking about is very obvious.
It doesn't make me buy into the moral quandary much as it wants me to, I think.
Well, I buy into the moral quandary, and again, this is me talking about the writers care more about their characters than the other ones, which is, it's a great moral quandary and debate between McQueen and Cooper.
Yes.
And how they see...
It matters between them.
How they see in vitros, because McQueen no longer...
Are they us, or are they them?
McQueen no longer sees in vitros as just people anymore. They are in vitros. They aren't human. McQueen doesn't see them as human anymore.
And he doesn't see himself as human,
and he doesn't see himself as in vitro anymore either. He is a Marine, so he has stamped himself with that. While Cooper, he's desperately seeking identity, and he still can't wrap his brain around being an in vitro without having other forms of connection with other in vitros. Hence, he's got this almost father-son relationship with McQueen. And you see it coming to a head here, and he has to choose. But that's great for character thing. But then you have this crew of other in vitros, and they perform murder and mutiny. And what you're talking about is 100% valid in terms of that side of the plot, where you're not as invested in them, even though you feel for them because they are victims of persecution and bigotry. But the script has made it so they are always going to have to give up. Same with Cooper, because there is no other alternative.
With it winning.
It's a reverse engineered problem.
Yes.
Where they know that they have to get to this point, so they have to set up the pieces so logically you could get to that point. Because if they made it 100 in vitros, 100 humans, and they sacrifice the in vitros, they would have to, as writers in your 4th episode, come up with a fucking damn good reason why McQueen would willingly do it from the get-go, rather than toss up about it like Cooper does. Because at least in McQueen's defense in this episode, he does not like it when people are bigots. You see it on his face. He says it out loud too. But here, he's willing to sacrifice the in vitros because there's less of them. It makes more sense.
Yeah.
And
it's a tactical decision.
But he does it for most of the episode, from a detached place.
Yeah.
And so the conflict between him and Cooper make it so that when they both arrive at this decision, they've both grown and matured as people and have a deeper understanding of where the other was coming from. That is good. But what you're saying is true as well, because it is removing the dilemma of that type of dilemma of bigotry. Because other than that, it's just some members of this crew are just cartoonish villains, like cartoonish racists. And then you have the captain, who's actually quite level-headed, but he dies as a victim of circumstance. And so you feel something in a way when he gets shot, because you go, oh, well, he was actually quite reasonable, but he was making a tough call. And you don't...
Like, he didn't go, oh, first sign of trouble, we gotta eject those in vitros. Those nipple necks are gonna eat it.
I want to talk about those little character moments that we had with the crew, because I did like them a lot. There was, Vanessa was actually quite good in this episode.
I really liked her little moments of, like, I'm not racist.
And she is an engineer.
Interned at a nuclear power plant because her daddy worked there.
Well, and they've set up in the series before that her background is engineering and stuff of this nature. So it was great to see them use that again.
With her reading the letter from her boyfriend.
Where it becomes sexual and she just laughs at it like, oh, here he goes again. You know, that was a great little moment of comedy there, because that's just how it be, you know. And I thought she was really great here. I'm realizing something about her, the actress nails this really well, because even though I still wish they gave her more material, The actress nails this bubbly, nervous energy without dialing it to 11.
No.
She feels like a real person who's capable.
Simmering rather than fully, like, exploding or bubbling over, but just that tension that's underlying everything.
She's not annoying and she's not unstable in her bubbly nervousness. She's never doubt
Tilly?
She's not Tilly. I literally think of Tilly as the counterpart example in terms of performance, where Tilly is dialed up to 11 because we, the audience, are too stupid to understand what the character type is, which is the nervous blabbermouth who's actually really competent at their job and is smarter than people give them credit for, and they're the, young, fresh-faced individual. But that's Vanessa. That's Danvers. She's excellent like that. The actress just rides that wave really nicely because she never goes over the top for me. I wish they gave her more.
Yeah.
I wish they gave her more. I liked her relationship with the other engineers. Again, if there was more time spent on that, then I would feel something about them leaving her behind, but I didn't really care about them, those engineering characters, like the little Asian guy with the glasses and the kind of more portly guy. When they did stuff and I didn't really care about them. I cared about
Go for it.
I cared about their leader, like the head in vitro that was on the ship. He was a good actor. I think he did more work than the script did. But what about Wang and his catfish stuff? Did you like with him and Vanessa? I mean, with him and Vanson, disagreeing on love,
whether you can fall in love with somebody without seeing them,
without physical connection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I believe in things I can see and touch rather than Wang's approach of connection is more than that, and bringing up the idea of the soul. And it's like, yeah, that's conversations that people have. Like, you just hanging out, shooting the shit, talking about things going on in your life, and it gets deeper. Because it's not like, oh, you're chatting to this girl. What is she like? What are you saying to her? It's like, yeah, but like, you're saying you're in love with her.
There's judgment.
But how? Like, and it's just like, we don't need to know that, oh, you've been chatting to this girl for like 3 weeks now. We don't have any of that because we don't need any of that.
It's some flavor.
That's not what it's about.
It's some flavor added to the episode. It's something for them to do other than their job.
Yes.
Because if they just did their job, you wouldn't be interested in watching them just shoot things and go, yes, I'm shooting things. This is humanizing them. And what I really...
They get something else. They are doing their job while also being people. And they do the same thing with West. Like, he's at the radar, but he's having all of these interactions with McQueen and reflecting on and later apologizing for his previous actions. Because he's a person while he does his job. Yeah. He doesn't switch in and out.
He's not a machine. He's not like a plug-in.
Both things are happening at the same time.
With Wang, what I really appreciated was it could have been so easy to make Shane look like the bad guy in the conversation because she's...
Look like a jerk.
Judging in a very, you're like a weird little creep who's talking to a girl on the internet and isn't that for losers. But he has a lot of harsh judgments about her as well. And so you have these two characters throwing lots of dirt at each other, but in a way where it's not vicious.
No, it's not like, oh, they got beef.
There was that moment.
It's like they're having an argument and a discussion without it being aggressive.
Agreed. And there was that moment
It's
where
a
she
debate.
rattled off this scenario where it's like, oh, all this stuff happens, and he said, like, is that confession? And it just shot her down, and it was a nice moment of acting between the two there, because you can tell that these two actors are really gelling with each other in this one.
Good chemistry.
Yeah, good chemistry, good rapport, and I really do like how the show is accepting that you can have your story of the week. Here's a mutiny ship. Here's a ship that's going to go on mutiny. Oh, here's West going AWOL. Oh, the Chigs attack. While still keeping up character continuity and character relationships.
Yes.
Because I did not give a shit, really, about the titular mutiny.
No.
What I wanted...
Did not give a fuck.
What I wanted and what I adored was the conversations between McQueen and Cooper. I said this last episode where it's like, Vanson's my favorite character because she's this complex, nuanced person and how she leads. And then I'm like, oh, McQueen's the best character because he's just such a great guy. In this episode, I'm just like, man, Cooper Hawkes, huh? What a great character.
Yeah. Getting his moment to shine.
Yeah.
I said it before, but I'm very much enjoying that we're moving characters each episode at this stage of, like, this is now this person's episode. It doesn't neglect the rest of the cast. They're still there, they're still model, they're still getting their own stuff. But it's like I'm going to say a word, Ryan, and you're not allowed to make a joke.
Oh, hear that, everybody? No jokes allowed on this podcast. You better not laugh.
It shines a spotlight on the characters of Hawks and McQueen.
You're right,
in this
it does.
Particular episode.
You're right. It does shine a spotlight, and as we know, spotlight is for kings.
I said no!
You said no. I didn't do the spotlight joke that we do in our Babylon 5 coverage. I didn't go spotlight.
I said you're not allowed to make a joke.
Hear that, everybody? I retract
what?
that. I retract that. Spotlight is not for kings. It's for queens. You love me. You love me. You love me. But she needs some time, everybody. She heard about this really great film, Spotlight. Real big fan. Real big fan. Won a lot of Oscars, I hear, that film.
No.
Nominated at least for several.
And the Oscar goes to Spotlight.
McQueen is just this character that you can't help but enjoy because of the built-in wisdom, but also he isn't to the point where there is no dimension.
No, and it avoids the common trappings of that character type.
Where he's always right and he's the dad of the group who we should all listen to. He has flaws. He goes over the top here. We see him go a little bit Ahab in a way, where we see him go off the bit and foam at the mouth a little, but he doesn't go too far.
He's so sure that there's something out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like the way that they deliver the exposition about that class of ship.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was really good.
That hasn't been fucking in anything yet.
No.
If it has,
But I like the way that they
notes.
did it, where it's like each one of the crew has to memorize the information about the enemy and be able to recall it like that. It really tells you so much about the Marine Corps and where they are. No, they don't fall into those trappings because although he is right, how he went about certain things were wrong.
He learns and grows. Like,
and he's
even
willing
though
to man up.
he is wise, that doesn't make him invulnerable.
When he took away West's locket, it was awesome because it was like, finally. But then he gives it back, and the way he explains why he did it was really mature and respectful, and you can tell that he realized, I should not have done that. I needed you to be this in that moment, but I have been so, like, you can tell just by these quickfire lines because of his overall arc in the episode, and the actor's emotionality is, I have been too much of the cold, hardened Marine, and I do forget empathy and warmth and humanity when I'm interacting with others. Even though I believe the Marines are my family, they're the people who will speak for me when I die. I really liked that. And the conversations that he has with Hawks throughout the episode about being an in vitro and his past as somebody who worked on a mining operation. He was one of 6 to survive.
Yeah.
And he's lived this harsh, embittered life in which he's had to just survive. And so when you have Hawks say that amazing line at the end of, what was it? It was something along the lines...
What would you know about sorrow?
Really hits. It really hits because at first I wanted to reject that line going, hey, you don't know that much about McQueen. He's older, he's lived this life, but with what we're given, he hasn't experienced sorrow in the way that Hawks has experienced sorrow. What he's experienced is tragedy in many ways, but not the same type as what Hawks is going through.
There is a big difference between Hawk's experience of grief, of losing a sister that he'll never get to know, and the way that McQueen responds to the death of one of his men at the start. Because both are losses, but they are very different emotional reactions.
And the fact that one is an older person and one's a younger person in terms of Hawks and McQueen speaks volumes because McQueen has lived longer and he no longer has that youthful energy that Hawks has. So you have him say, I was too afraid to feel. And that is speaking so true to the 4 episodes we've got to know McQueen, where he is very straight-laced. He's not as if he's saying, I don't have emotions, I don't express them. It is, he just isn't capable at all times to allow himself to get into situations where he can have intense feelings in these ways, and these really vulnerable feelings.
He often expects the people that he's working with to be able to switch off their emotions as well.
To get the job done.
Because you need to be a machine.
Yeah, and
as a Marine.
He's hardened from being the life he's lived, but also the bigotry he's had to suffer, while Hawks, he's a young guy. He has that indignation towards it, and he wants to rebel, and he wants to fight back, and he wants to talk smack. And you understand where both of them are from, because these are real, to again, bring it back to the allegories that it's going towards. We understand this, the difference of generations when it comes to bigotry here, especially not just generations, but also just your age. When you're younger, you think, no, I don't deserve...
You want to fight against injustice more when you are young.
Yeah, and when it's happening to you. But then it comes a point where it's like, for someone like McQueen, it's just, this is the way of the world. We make the best of it with what we've got. I have by accepting the Marine Corps as my family. They see us as lesser than. They see us only as tools. And I'm in a family in which we are a tool of whatever powers send us to where we need to go to do whatever job we need to do. And that is just the nature of the beast. I thought that stuff, again, didn't really care about the mutiny stuff as much, even though that's the thrust of the episode. I really could have had a whole episode of these two at a table talking to each other, because they are really well realized.
If it had a whole act, even, of Hawks ending up in McQueen's office when he's writing the letter. And just going slow and diving deep into that scene and that situation and the way that those two characters approach things really differently would have been fucking fascinating.
And or if the conflict of the episode had more reasons for why McQueen and Cooper were in the same scene more often.
Yeah.
For what it's constructed, it makes sense why they're not always in the same scene, but when they were in the same scenes during the conflict, that's when the conflict became more interesting.
When McQueen sets the timer.
Yes! You have 5 minutes. I loved that. I thought that was truly magnificent stuff right there. Oh, man, that really hits. And when they're boarding the ship and McQueen is talking to the captain and they're joking about the ribeye steaks and everything like that, and, oh, it's so easy what we can get on this ship. And then Cooper is the one to look in and he sees in vitros, and it just says it all. Like, they're just another thing that they can get in.
We're carrying 6 containers of unborn in vitros. They're being shipped to a plutonium mining facility in the core of a star system. They don't stand a chance.
What are a few tanks more or less?
Yeah, the episode had some action set pieces, some shooty bang bangs, but I'm trying to think what else there is to discuss here. Is there anything leaping out at you that you want to tackle? Because I have one thing that is more of a question I want to lob at you in terms of piece of information we learned, but anything else?
Go for it.
In vitros.
Yes.
Released from the tank when they're 18.
Yeah!
So Hawks has only been...
He's a baby!
Hawks...
Baby Hawks.
Hawks must be what, like 25 maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe less? So let's be generous and say he's like 6 years old in terms of being out in the world. Yeah. How do you feel about that information?
Now his naivety makes sense in a different way.
He's a 6-year-old in the body of a 24-year-old man.
Yeah.
He's only experienced the world in like 6 years. He's grown in a tank for this. We've already talked about this. Grown for a purpose that no longer existed. He obsolete by the time he came out. And wow. It really explains a lot, doesn't it? And they kept that from us for a few episodes. And they're still obviously going to keep exploring it. But how does it make you feel about some of the moments like the kiss with Shane in the pilot where there are these little moments of like, that was weird.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, because you are essentially a child.
And you teach children.
Yeah, and children are fucking dumb. Children can be really fucking dumb, as can adults.
Don't understand social cues.
As can adults. But
maturity levels are different.
Like, because they haven't done things, they haven't seen things, and they lack that ability to go, oh, I have a thought. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do the thought.
I think that this additional information not only colors what we've seen of Hawks in a really fascinating way, because it makes so much sense for why he's so emotionally charged up in all of these varieties.
He feels everything very highly.
In
and
the pilot,
deeply.
we called him an angsty teen. because in a way
he's not even a tween.
He's not even a tween, but but what I think is really cool in terms of sci-fi, sci-fi stuff, what a fascinating sci-fi twist to put on one of your main characters, where we've already had the bleak, very totalitarian world of Space Above and Beyond when it comes to the tanks, where they were created for war, their weapons, their slaves, their things. And now we add an even more cruel and twisted and what will be a fun thing to explore, because you can have a comedy with this, but you can have so much with this, which is he is, let's just say 25 years old. You have this man who has the understanding, the world experience of that of a child. And he is currently one of the main characters who is a soldier fighting in a war. Isn't that just such a different thing to throw in?
Yeah, it does change a lot of the things that, like, it just shifts almost everything we know and have seen with Cooper a little. Like the fact that this, like, if you think about him as a child, it's like this judge has sentenced a child to join the Marines as a joke.
But since he is a man, you there's that separation of sympathy in a weird way, because you go, well, he's a man, but then you go, but he's 5.
Yeah, and then it's not.
It's like Bender.
It's something like where the reveal of it isn't like, yeah, that makes sense.
They don't rub it in your face.
No, it's just
stated, and you go,
it's like, oh. Well, now I have a lot of things to reconsider.
But not only reconsider, but in terms of the past, but there's so much now that you think about where they could go with a character with this as a fundamental part of them. Isn't that really something to think about over time? Because that's a character thing you can really play with. That's like, you could really play with it, because you have so many in your sci-fi things, like Spock, say. Spock is one of those characters where you come in and you go, right, the alien that comes from an all-logical, emotionless society, but he's half human, and he's going to wrestle with his human half and his Vulcan half. That's a fun character. You can do so much with that.
And they have. They've gone back to that.
Worf. He is a Klingon who has been raised by humans, and he's now in the Starfleet. You could do so much with that. That's such a fun avenue. You could do on and on. 7 of 9. We could keep going Star Trek. We could go Babylon 5. We can go on and on and on. But when it comes to this gritty war show, one of your gritty war heroes, the James Dean type, has the experience of 5 years. They've lived that much. They were grown in a tank for 18, and then he's been shot out and he was obsolete and just left to wander the world. A world that would hang him because he was other. And of course he has this emotional stuntedness to him. He's just so angry and so confused, and he wants, when he's doing this thing about the sister,
he doesn't know how to feel about his own existence. And it's like, well, yeah, what 6 or 5-year-old does?
And it makes me, as an audience member, with my cynical brain and my short fuse when it comes to pretentious writing tricks, more forgiving. Because say, if we didn't have this, and he was this way about this sister of his, I would have rolled my eyes more, going, okay, we get it. You're doing a writer thing here where we need to humanize Hawks, but contextualizing it with him being somewhat a child, it makes it so much more palatable to me.
And it's so much better and not making it a literal children. It's not the thing of...
This is an old Doctor Who.
No. It's not the thing of, like, here are these literal fetuses of in vitros, and here are full-grown adults in stasis.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah,
there are certain things that if they didn't have this, you would roll your eyes and get, like we did in the pilot. In the pilot, Hawks did stuff that you just went, we get it. You're angry and angsty and annoyed.
But I'm glad that they waited this long to give us this.
Yeah, because it's drip feeding you stuff. And again, this episode, I give it a yum. I think it's not good, but it keeps showing us the writers are really attuned to world building and character building. They're getting better and better at that stuff.
Yes.
What do you rate this on our system of yum being bad and yum yum being good?
I'm really tossing up, but I think I have to be honest and say that there's more things that I liked about it than I didn't like. But I don't think that it's good. So I'm like, I don't know. I think I give it a pass. I give it a yum yum.
I don't think you should say you're giving it a pass because just talking to you, this has been one of the most enthusiastic ones you've watched. I was actually surprised to hear that you enjoyed it so much, but talking to you and seeing get animated, there's problems here.
Yeah, there's lots of problems, but okay, here is where I land. I do like it. I have trouble admitting that I like it because there's lots of problems with it. But the problems with it don't stop me from enjoying the story that's being told.
And
do I wish that there was a second draft? Abso-fucking-lutely. Do I wish that they got a different director on board? Hell yes.
And again, a positive to it is the issues that are present here are ones that can be easily course-corrected, smoothed out, adjusted. They're not fundamental flaws.
And they haven't been in every episode. So it's not like, oh, they're doing this thing again. It's pissing me off. It's like, yeah, the plot is lackluster and the characters are good. But I prefer heavy character work a lot of the time over heavy plots. So it's like, I'm getting the thing that I like more. So I don't mind that I've got this turd on the other side of my plate.
Are you ready to hear what we will be watching and talking about next?
Yeah, give it to me.
It's episode 5.
It's
called Ray Butts. Butts. Ray Butts. Episode 5.
R-A-Y.
Yes, it's
space B-U-T-T-S.
Yes, Ray Butts. Any guesses on what episode 5 Ray Butts will be about? I know, but you don't.
What the fuck am I meant to do with Ray Butts?
What are you meant to do?
What the fuck? How the fuck am I meant to guess anything from Ray Butts?
Can you answer this at least? Is it an excellent title or an excellent title? It's one that leaves your jaw hit the floor once you confirm that it is in fact Ray, as in Raymond, or Ray Gun, and Butts as in buttocks.
I'm gonna guess that it's a stupid nickname like nipple necks for something in this universe.
What do you think the thing is?
I don't know.
What are the Ray Butts?
I don't know what the Ray Butts are. I don't know, some specific type of weapon gunners.
Weapon gunners. So you think they're going to meet a bunch of ground pounders called Ray Butts?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's go with that. I don't fucking know.
This is one of the rare times where I regret not making this a video podcast because the look of fear in your eyes hearing that the next episode is called Ray Butts is truly superb. But yes, people, that will be on the conversation for next one, so make sure to tune in and give that one a watch.
Wait, can I give another guess?
Yes.
So I think I'm fairly certain it's going to refer to at least one specific person, if not a group of people. I don't think it's... I feel like we might go back to the corporation a little bit because we didn't get any mention of them
this episode.
So I think it might go back to something like that. Or, you know, maybe it's another one of Bulldog Chesty.
Oh, like a call sign.
Yeah.
Ray Butts. Yeah. And it's going to be the call that wins the day. Like they have some big battle and they go, Ray Butts.
I got no fucking clue, but I was like, I want to
try and put through some out there.
Throw out some more ideas.
Right. Well, there you go, people. You can find us on the social media platforms of your choice under YumYumPod or YumYumPodcast. We have an email, which is
yumyumpod@gmail.com.
So if you want to contact us directly, we have a Patreon where we release a multitude of content. In fact, if you're listening to this on our main feed, you can actually find all of our Space Above and Beyond discussions on our Patreon, because we're recording these for Patreon first. For the people who are patrons listening to this, you already know this, but we record these on Patreon first, have them there, and then we release these later. So if you want to hear it all, come on over and support us and get so much other stuff. We've talked a bunch on there, and we have a group Discord and a community that you can engage with. It would be greatly appreciated if you joined in on the fun, but that is all we've got. Now, a lot of things happen. People died this episode.
Yeah,
and I feel really bad for Monk because we found out he was fat, had a wife, and was Jewish.
But he didn't get a plane named after him, so who the fuck gives a shit?
Cooper didn't want to avenge him.
Nope.
But I look, I know we love Pags. We all love Pags, and I really feel sad that he's gone. But I did shed a tear for Monk. Could we just for this one?
No.
Toast to Monk? No? We can
acknowledge Monk.
We can write a letter for Monk.
We can't sign off.
Okay.
With Monk. He's just not as important as Pags.
No one is. I miss Pags.
Here's to Pags.